guys. It's very sunny in here. There, let's do that. All right, I hope everybody's having a good night. Yeah, I think we're all good to go. We are going to do a class that focuses on like deep stretching tonight and using the fact that we have an hour together to build into some deeper stretches. If you have socks handy or a towel or a blanket, if you are on a hard floor, that could be helpful for some of the stretches that we'll do. If you are on carpet, you could use like a paper plate or a magazine I've used before, but we'll talk about that more once we get to it. Let's go ahead and get started in child's pose. Set yourself up in child's pose with your knees wide. Think about creating length through the whole spine. Take some deep breaths together. Inhale through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. Breathe in. Let that go. Breathe in. And breathe out fully. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Let's lift up enough to thread. Right arm across your chest. Turn your right palm towards the ceiling and rest down to the right side of your face. Switch sides. Reach your right arm forward and thread your left arm across. Let's bring both arms forward again. Turn your palms up towards the ceiling. And let your forehead rest down to the mat between your upper arms again. And maybe this feels like enough of an externally rotated shoulder stretch, especially if you focus on truly keeping your hands and your elbows, shoulders width distance apart. If you want to take this further, you can bring your palms together and bend your elbows to bring your hands behind your head. Or maybe palms to the backs of the shoulders as our most advanced option. Let's extend forward onto our stomachs. Bring your left forearm across your mat for support. My palm is down on the mat. And then I'm going to reach my right hand back and take a hold of the pinky toe edge of my right foot. So my right thumb is pointing down. And I'm trying to keep my knees, hips width distance apart. So I'm resisting the urge to maybe let the right knee splay out to the side. And then from here, I'll rest my forehead down to my left forearm and just kind of bring my right heel in with me. We're going to stay here for a couple of breaths and try to relax as much as possible. And see if you can let go of your right foot without the leg changing position at all. It's going to feel pretty intense. It'll suddenly turn into a lot of hamstring work. And then go ahead and take a hold of the foot and relax. So this, with the hand supporting the foot, is a very passive stretch. Let's try that again. We let go of the foot and we see if we can keep the leg in the same position. And relax back into the passive stretch. Let's do that one more time. Notice what muscles need to engage. And then relax. Take a hold of the foot and hug it in. Let's scoot the left forearm in a little bit so that you're lifted through the chest and the shoulders. Kick your right foot into your right hand so that the movement of the leg is deepening the stretch in the shoulder. So you can lift up a little bit more. And then we'll release and we'll switch sides so the right forearm comes across the mat. Reach back for your left foot with your left hand. And then ease down towards a passive stretch. In this stretch, focus on relaxing as much as possible. And then let's lift up just a little bit. See what happens when you try to release the left foot, but keep the foot where it's at. And then take a hold of the foot again and let your hamstrings relax. Let's do that again. So find the depth of the passive stretch. And then can you let go of the foot without allowing the leg to change position? And then take hold of the foot again. Maybe you find that the passive stretch goes a little bit further after that active engagement. Let's try that one more time. And take a hold of the foot and relax completely. Let's lift up. Let's push into the right forearm and kick back really strongly with the left leg. Bringing the focus more into the spine and the left shoulder. And then we'll release. Make your way all the way down onto your stomach over towards the left side of your mat. And bring your right leg into half frog pose. So the knee is out to the side at hip height. And then rest down to the left side of your face to find a little bit of a stretch for your neck. Again, our focus here first in this passive stretch is just relaxation. And we'll lift up a little bit. Position your left forearm for support. Lift your right foot away from the mat, away from the floor, and see if you can reach back and take a hold of your right foot with your right hand. My right thumb is pointing up towards the ceiling. If you can't take a hold of your foot, that's okay. You're just going to work on lifting the foot up. If you can take a hold of the foot, you'll use your hand to guide the leg into your end range of motion. And then you'll do that same thing like we did with hamstrings, where I'm going to let go of my foot and see if I can keep it in place. But if taking hold of the foot is not feasible, then I'm going to lift my leg up, hold for a second, and then come down. So knock out about 5 rounds of that if that's where you're working on your hip rotation. If you're able to take hold of the foot, we'll do about 3 rounds of this work where we passively guide the leg in, and then we let go of the foot and try to maintain that same position. We take a hold of the foot and relax into a passive stretch. Find end range of motion, and then see what happens when you try to let go of the foot. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. Let's scoot over to the right side of the mat. Bring your left leg out into half frog. Rest down to the right side of your face. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw, in your shoulders, along the inside of your left thigh. Let's lift up a little bit. Our first option is just going to be to work on lifting the left foot away from the mat, finding your end range of motion, and then resting back down. Or if it's available, you can reach the left hand to take a hold of the left foot, guide the leg into the deepest stretch you can, and then see if you can let go of the foot and hold the leg there. And then take a hold of the foot again, relax the effort in the leg, guide it into a more passive, deeper stretch, and release, and see if you can hold. Let's try that process one more time. Try to keep your left knee bent to 90 degrees. And then we'll go ahead and bring the foot all the way down. Make your way up into table pose. Spend a few moments just moving around here. It doesn't have to be anything in particular. Whatever feels good, whatever movement is the first thing you think of or the first thing you start doing, that's great. Let's turn our fingers out towards the long edges of our mat. And from here, inhale to cow pose. Let your spine hammock towards the floor. And then exhale to cat. Puff your spine up towards the ceiling. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Find a neutral spine and walk your hands in as close to each other as you can so that the insides of your wrists are facing each other. And then shift side to side. If you want to lift the palm of the hand that you're shifting towards away from the mat, go for it. And then flip onto the backs of your hands with your fingers still facing in towards each other. Curl your hands towards fists. Feel free to shift around forward and back, side to side in this stretch as well. Maybe you extend your fingers and then curl the hands back in. You can play around with the angle of your hands if you like. Maybe fingers flip in towards your legs or forward towards the top of the mat. Let's sit back towards our heels. Bring your knees wide. Plant your right hand out in front of you and find a long spine. Left hand behind your head. Inhale and press into the floor and bring your left elbow up and back. And then exhale, close your elbow in towards your right arm. Let's do that 5 times on each side. Focus on finding a feeling of rotation just around the bottom of your rib cage through that segment of the spine. Let's do one more. And then we'll switch sides. Good. And then let's go ahead and bring our legs together and lift up onto shins. Step your right foot forward and find a 90-degree angle with both legs. So it's not a really extended yoga lunge. Press into your front heel, get stable, and then find a pelvic tilt with your tailbone tucking under, your glutes engaged, and your core engaged. So we are tilting the pelvis back rather than forward. Pelvis tilts forward, a lot of engagement and effort. Reach your arms overhead, and then take a hold of your left wrist and keep that posterior pelvic tilt happening as you draw your left wrist up and over to the right. And come back through center. We'll switch sides. So our main focus here is in a side bend on, or is on a side bend on the spine. But this leg position is helping us maintain a neutral pelvis. So left foot forward, tuck your tailbone under, engage your core, engage your glutes, press into your left foot, reach up and take a hold of your right wrist, and think about pulling the arm up and then over to the left. Let's come back through center. Bring your left leg behind you, tuck your toes under, and make your way into a fold at the back of your mat with your feet wide and your arms folded. Once you get into the position, once you find deep, steady breath, notice where you're feeling this the most. Notice where you feel ease. Notice where you feel effort. Notice where you can release a little bit more. Notice where maybe you can provide yourself with a little bit more support. This is a very passive stretch. Gravity is doing the work. It's not that it isn't intense, but all that you're doing here is hanging, letting gravity take over. I want you to find a slight bend in your knees. See if you can sit your hips back as you bring your elbows forward and lengthen out your spine. So the position stays pretty much the same, but we're working to bring elbows forward, a long line from tailbone out through elbows. A pretty active hamstring stretch. This might feel quite intense through the backs of the shoulders as well. And then we'll release down to our passive hang again. Let's do that twice more. So try to lift your elbows forward and lengthen out your spine. Try not to lock your knees out, so a little bend in the knees. See if you can get your elbows a little higher. And then release and let gravity take over. Maybe your hamstrings are really burning right now. Mine definitely are. Let's do this one more time. So it's out towards like a halfway lift shape. Take any rounding out of your spine. Lift your elbows a little bit higher if you can. And then release to a fold. Let's walk out to downward facing dog. Make your way forward to hovering table. Use this posture to stretch your feet. And then back to down dog. Stretch your ankles. Let's move back and forth between those two postures a few more times. We're connecting more to strength in the wrists and shoulders and core. Next time you come forward, let your knees lower all the way down. Reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Your palm faces out to the side. And then reach and thread through. Inhale, open. Exhale, reach through. Inhale, open. And exhale, reach through. Let's rest to the left side of the face and then wrap your right arm around into a half bind. Use the bind to assist the twist in your spine. And then plant your right hand beside your face again. Sweep your left arm open. From here, step your right foot back. Tuck your left toes under and work to step your left foot back as well and turn this into side plank. Reach your left arm overhead with your palm facing down and arc the left side of your body up towards the ceiling by pushing the floor away. You can bend your left elbow if you like and just really let the left hand dangle towards the floor. Let your head drop towards the floor as well if that feels good for your neck. And then lower your hips all the way onto the mat and bend your knees. Tuck your feet in. Take a hold of your left ankle with your left hand and stretch your right arm up and over. Think about letting your rib cage shift over to the right. And then we'll cartwheel hands down towards the top of the mat. Make your way around into table pose again. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Thumb points forward. And then reach and thread through. Inhale, open. Exhale, reach through. Inhale, open. And exhale, reach through and rest all the way down. Guide your left arm into a half bind. And then try to use the bind to stack left shoulder over right. Plant your left hand beside your face. Press the floor away and reach your right arm open. And then we'll step left foot back. We'll tuck right toes under. And power up and around to side plank. Drape your right arm overhead. Lift the right side of your rib cage up towards the ceiling by pushing into the floor with your left hand. Maybe let your left ear drop towards your left shoulder. And then we'll lower hips all the way down to the floor and gather your feet in. Take a hold of your right ankle with your right hand and sweep your left arm up and over. From here, pivot around so that you're sitting down and make your way onto your back. Plant your feet hips width distance apart and bend your elbows. Walk your elbows in so that you feel your triceps on the mat and your hands are up towards the ceiling. Push into your heels and lift your hips away from the floor. And you can stay here if this feels like enough, or you can work to walk your hands in to support your low back and to elevate your bridge pose. So we're either holding our elevated bridge pose or we're holding bridge pose without the hands in place. But if you are using your hands, I want you to see if you can find the lift that's accessible to you in the passive variation of this pose, and then take your hands away, but see if you can maintain that same lift. Core is engaged, low back is comfortable. Let's try that a couple more times. Hands walk in to support the low back. We find more lift, more extension through the quads and hip flexors, more engagement through hamstrings and glutes. And then we try to hold that and remove the hands and make it more difficult. Let's do that one more time. Hands walk in. Should feel easier. Maybe feet walk in a little bit closer as well. And then it gets a whole lot tougher as we work to remove the hands while maintaining that same lift. Lower all the way down to your back. Hug your knees into your chest. Rock along your spine 3 times. At that third rock, you'll power up to a fold. Let's inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Inhale, reach arms overhead. And exhale, interlace your hands at your low back. Squeeze your palms towards each other. Hug your elbows towards each other. Don't worry about straightening your elbows. Try to draw your shoulders back, collarbones wide. If all of that is working well, then maybe you try straightening the elbows. And then we'll bend into the knees and fold forward. Release your hands, but keep them reaching back behind you. Pinkies up towards the ceiling. Extend the crown of your head forward so that this feels more like a halfway lift. And then you can stay here, or if you like, you can start to work to lift up onto your tippy toes. Heels move away from the floor. Hands reach back as crown of head reaches forward. Squeeze your palms together. One more breath. And we'll release hands down to the mat. Step the left foot back and bring your left knee down. And heel toe your right foot wide so that you're in lizard lunge. And your hands plant to the inside of your right foot. If this feels intense enough, you can stay here. Or if you like, you can really strongly flex your right ankle. So my right ankle is strong and engaged. And I'm going to pick my right hand up and start to press my right knee away from me. And as I do so, I'm rolling onto the pinky toe edge of the right foot. I'm pressing that knee as far away from me as I can. This is pretty passive. Then I'm going to take that hand away and see if I can hold that position for a moment. And then do that a couple more times. The hand comes back to the knee. Find a new position, even if it's just a millimeter, and then release and try to hold. Let's do that one more time. Hand release and hold and breathe. And then from wherever you're at, both hands come down and we straighten out the right leg and find half splits. And then this is where we'll get set up so we can use something slippery, a sock or a shirt or a dish rag on the floor. So I'm just going to fold my mat in a bit so that I'm still in the same pose I was in, the same spot on my mat. But now my right foot is on the floor and I've got socks on. I'm going to stand up onto my back shin and bring my hands to my hips. And then this is going to look different depending on your flexibility and mobility. You can either slide that right foot out a couple of inches and then draw back in. And you're trying to keep the two halves of your pelvis beside each other, so I'm not going to do this. Or you could slide that foot quite a ways out in front of you and then pull back in. Make sure you're not feeling any pain. Try not to hyperextend this right knee. There's still a little bit of a bend there. We're going to do some variation of that really active split stretch 4 more times. Be honest with yourself about the placement of your hips. Try not to let your right hip move much further forward than your left hip terms of how they're squared to each other. Let's do 2 more. And you can point or flex your right foot, whatever feels more useful. This last one, you're going to go out as far as you can. And then bring your hands down to frame your right leg. Try to hinge forward rather than folding forward, so the spine stays long. And we'll hold for 5 breaths. Then we'll go ahead and bail out of that. Let's set up our full mat again and find downward facing dog. If you feel like you need to move and wiggle a little bit, go for it. Notice the difference in how your 2 legs feel, your 2 hips feel. Let's walk feet up to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, plant your hands and step your right foot back. Bring your right knee down. Heel toe your left foot wide. And take lizard lunge on the second side. And if just this pose, pretty straightforward, is working for you, stick with it. It's a good one. If you want to make this a little bit more advanced, we can go ahead and plant more firmly into the right hand and bring the left hand to the inside of the left knee. Flex your left ankle and start to press your left knee away from you. Press that leg as far away from you as you can without switching up the rest of the posture. And then see if you can release the hand and hold. And then hand it back to the leg. See if there's space to press it a little bit further away. And release and hold. Let's do one more round of that. And release and hold and breathe. And then we'll shift back towards half splits. Let's set up for our active split stretch on the second side. I'm going to fold my mat in and come back into half splits, but standing up on my back shin. Hands come to your hips. Maybe you throw some additional padding underneath your right knee, or you could kneel on your folded up mat there. And then focus on control and on squaring the hips. We're not trying to do cheerleader splits. Our goal is extension in the back hip, and that's kind of the limiting factor for most people. Only go out as far as you can, and you can then pull back in from It's effort in that back leg to do so. And you're going for 5 good reps. And there'll be one side likely that will feel more difficult or less difficult. Let's do one more. And on this last one, you'll go out as far as you can. Bring your hands down to frame your left foot by leaning forward from the hips. And we'll hold for 5 breaths. And let's gather back in. And we'll take down dog again from here. Let's walk feet up to hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach up. And exhale, hands to your heart. From here, left foot will step back. And find that same 90 degree lunge that we did before, but this time our back knee is going to hover above the mat. Bring your hands to your hips. Find a tucked tailbone. Find an engaged core. Glutes are engaged. And then press your legs to straight for a moment. I'm going to take my socks off so I can balance better. Our goal as we come down is to feel a stretch in the back quads and the back hip flexors, and those muscles will be working too. So you might feel them burning, they're engaged. Go ahead and lower down again. Try to tuck your tailbone. Hover the knee, push into your front heel. And then press back to straight. So our goal is to make that as intense as we can for the back quads, the front of your left thigh, by how much you engage with the posture. Let's do that again. And then stand back up. Let's do 2 more of those. It's all about how you're positioning your pelvis. Tailbone tucks under, core is tight. And stand back up. Last one. And press your legs to straight. Bring your hands down to frame your right foot. Turn your back heel in and down. And take pyramid pose. If you'd like to bring your hands around to the pinky toe edge of your right foot, go for it. Maybe you hook your left hand around the pinky toe edge of your right foot. Let's step back to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, vinyasa. Step or hop your feet to your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Let's step the right foot back. Find your foot placement. Your feet are hips width distance apart. You're going to bend your back knee, and when your back knee bends down, both legs are at a 90-degree angle. And then your hands will come to your hips so that you can guide your pelvis into a posterior tilt. So your pelvis is tilting back. And then as your pelvis tilts back, that lower knee will naturally want to bend and come forward a little bit. Let's sink into the lunge. Let's find a really deep, intense quad stretch on the right and hold for a couple of breaths. And then stand up and ease off a little bit. Do that again, and as you come down, think about trying to pull your feet towards each other to increase the contraction in this movement. And then stand up. Do that a few more times. Definitely a unique way to stretch the quads, but an effective one. And stand up and relax. Just do two more. And stand up. Last one of these. It's kind of up to you to decide how difficult this is to some extent. Let's straighten out the legs. Let's bring hands down to frame the left foot. We'll find a pretty passive pyramid pose for about 10 rounds of breath. Option to bring hands to the outside of the left foot. Maybe to hook your right fingertips underneath the outside of the left foot. Then we'll release and we'll step to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand tall. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, vinyasa. Step or hop feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Let's find a wall near to our practice space. We're going to finish up with a couple of stretches at the wall. The first one will focus on the shoulders. It's basically going to be down dog, but we're changing our orientation to gravity in the posture. Go ahead and sit down for just a moment and place your feet against the wall and figure out how much space that is. So from your feet to your hips, and get an approximate sense of where your hips are. And then you're just going to stand up and put your feet where your hips were. And then I have this rack in the way, but if you don't, that's going to be better. You're going to walk your hands down the wall and push into your palms. Bend your knees a little bit and try to let your chest drop towards the mat. The higher your hands are with your chest dropping, the more intense this will feel through the shoulders and upper back. We worked our hamstrings quite hard, so you might feel this a lot there as well. Think about wrapping your armpits in towards each other and spreading your shoulder blades away from your spine. Maybe hands can inch further up the wall. Press into your feet, press into your hands, make sure you're breathing. Let your head hang towards the floor. Carefully release, make your way all the way down onto your back. And you will scoot in as close to the wall as you can. You can bring your mat with you up against the wall. We'll do a yoga squat, but against the wall. So I'm going to put the side of my hip here so that I can rotate around and end up as close as possible. And I'm just going to plant my feet on the wall. And I can rest my elbows to the insides of my knees like I in this posture anyway. If it's too intense, just scoot a little further away from the wall. And then let's extend legs up the wall. You can bring your legs together or you can bring them out wider if you like. Reach your arms overhead. Let your arms frame your head. Close your eyes. And we'll finish up with a few rounds of quiet breathing in this posture. ahead and hug your knees into your chest. Press yourself away from the wall a little bit. And rock over to one side. Rest your head on your arm. And then let's press up to a cross-legged seat. Rest your hands on your knees. Settle your shoulders away from your ears. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And sigh it out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Blink your eyes open. Thank yourself for showing up for practice and for movement today. I know it's hard to hold yourself accountable, but you did it. If there's any other postures that you feel like you need to round out your practice, feel free to take them. If you have any requests for future classes, let me know. Make sure to follow Adventure Rock here on YouTube and on Instagram. You could share the live streams with other people. You could set up an accountability partner to do the live stream with you at the same time. You can hold each other to it. I hope you have a great night and that you feel better than you did when you started practicing. I will see you guys again soon. Thank you so much.